Lecture 6, Wave Properties of Light 3, lecture on online classes, course code EEE4233, course name Optoelectronics. This is the last lecture of the wave properties of light. At the end of this class, we will be able to learn what is Bridger's angle and its implementation, total internal reflection and external reflection, principles of evanescent wave, and anti-reflecting coating on a solar cell. Reflection and polarization angle. We find a special incident angle labeled as theta p by solving the Fresnel's equation for r perpendicular. The field in the reflected wave is then always perpendicular to the plane of incident and hence well defined. The special angle is called as polarization angle or Bridger's angle. Here we can see from this figure that this angle is known as Bridger's angle, and the equation for the Bridger's angle is tan theta p equals to n2 by n1 for both n1 and n2. Polarized light. A linearly polarized wave has an electric field oscillation defined along a line perpendicular to the direction of the propagation z. So it will have an electric field oscillation along with the line of perpendicular, and the field vector E and Z are defined as plane of polarization. Let's see this figure. There is an internal reflection because of n2 is greater than n1, and E perpendicular to the paper and E dot is normal to the paper. So we are getting incident reflected light theta I equals to theta p has only E perpendicular for both n1 and n2. What is a total internal reflection? In linearly polarized light, however, the field oscillations are contained with a well-defined plane. Light emitted from many light sources such as tungsten or LED diode is unpolarized, and the field is randomly oriented in the direction that is perpendicular to the direction of the propagation. At the critical angle and beyond, which is shown as 44 degree in the figure before, when theta I is greater than theta c, when means incident light angle is greater than the critical angle, the magnitude of the both are perpendicular and are parallel goes unity, so that the reflected wave has the same amplitude as the incident wave. The incident wave has suffered total internal reflection or TIR. So the phase change upon the total internal reflection when theta I is greater than theta r in the presence of TIR, the reflection coefficients becomes a complex quantity of time, with the phases of theta phi perpendicular and phi parallel begin 0 or 180 degree. The reflected wave therefore suffers phase change phi perpendicular and phi parallel in the component of E perpendicular and E parallel. These phase changes depends on the incident angle and also in the n1 and n2. The equation for the phase change would be this equation is for perpendicular, and this equation is for the parallel component. See, we are having an extra angle of pi by 2, angle of 90 degree for parallel phase change. External reflection and overall figure. We can see that here that before a critical angle there is no phase shift change, and after and also before a polarization angle there is no phase shift change in case of incident internal reflection. And for external reflection, here we can see that the reflection coefficient is negative and we are getting this angle. Now the evanescent wave. In internal reflection where n1 is greater than n2, the amplitude of the reflected wave for TIR is equal to the amplitude of the incident wave, but the phase has shifted. So what happens in the transmitted wave when theta I is greater than theta c? According to the boundary condition, there must still be an electric field in medium 2, otherwise the boundary condition would be satisfied. So theta I greater than theta t, the field in medium 2 is attenuated. That is decreased by y, and that is called as evanescent wave. So this figure shows an evanescent wave, whereas we can see that when theta I is greater than theta 2, there is a total TIR. However, there are some wave transmitted through into as according to the boundary condition, but that is a decreased wave. So evanescent wave amplitude is decreasing here, and we are getting the plane wave is reflected. There is an evanescent wave in the boundary propagation along Z. So evanescent wave, when the phase waves are incident and reflected, we are getting this equation, and an attenuation coefficient for the electric field penetrating medium 2 would be this equation. So this equation shows that attenuation coefficient alpha 2 and the penetration depth of the evanescent wave is been alpha 2 equals to attenuation coefficient. So this is known as the penetrating in medium 2. The field for evanescent wave is e to the power minus 1 in medium 2 when y equals to 1 by alpha 2, which is known as the penetration depth. So this is the equation for the penetration depth of evanescent wave, where alpha 2 is the attenuation coefficient. External reflection. When the light approaches the boundary condition, from the lower index side, we are getting n2 greater than n1. This is external reflection. Light is becoming reflected by the surface of an optically denser or higher refractive index medium. R perpendicular and R parallel depends upon the incident angle theta I. At normal incident, R perpendicular and R parallel are negative. In external reflection, at normal incident, there is a phase shift of 180 degree. R perpendicular goes through 0 at Bristol's angle, theta p at theta p, the reflected wave is polarized in the E perpendicular component only. Transmitted light in both internal reflection and external reflection does not experience a phase shift. Intensity, reflectance, and transmittance. Reflectance R measures the intensity of the reflected light with respect to that of incident light and can be defined as separately for electric field component parallel and perpendicular to the plane of incident. So these two are equation for the reflectance for parallel and perpendicular plane of incidence. At normal incidence, when R parallel and R perpendicular are both the same, we are getting n1 minus n2 divided by n1 plus n2 whole square. Since a glass medium has a refractive index around 1.5, that means typically 4% of the incident radiation on air glass surface will be reflected back. Now see example of reflectance. Consider reflection of light at normal incident of the boundary condition between glass medium of refractiveness 1.5 and air refractiveness 1. If in problem A, light is traveling from air to glass, what is the reflection coefficient and the intensity of the reflected light with respect to that of incident light? And if the light travels from glass to air, that is reflection coefficient and intensity of the reflected light of that incident light. What is the polarization angle in the external reflection A above? How would you make a polaroid from it? Here's the solution. We know that equation is n1 minus n2 divided by n1 plus n2, which shows that when the light travels in air and becomes partially reflected at the surface of the glass, it makes an external reflection. So we are getting a negative reflection coefficient. That means that there is a 180 degree phase shift. The reflectance, however, gives a fractional of the reflected power, that is 0.4%. And if the light travels in glass and becomes partially reflected at the glass air interface, we are getting a positive reflector in this, and it is an internal reflection, so there are no phase shift, and the reflectance also is 4%. In both A and B, the amount of reflected light is same. There is another example of reflected light from the denser medium, which is internal reflection. So if there is a problem related to the wave properties of light, first you have to determine either it is internal or external reflectance. If it is an external reflectance, then the reflectance coefficient must be negative and there would be a phase shift of 180 degree. However, if it is an internal reflectance, then there would be no phase shift change and the reflectance coefficient would be positive. So let's come to this problem. What is the minimum incident angle for TIR? If a ray of light which is traveling in a glass medium of refractive index 1.460 become incident on a less denser medium of 1.440, so it's an internal reflectance. What is the phase change in the reflected wave when theta I is 87 degree and when theta I is 90 degree? Also find out the penetration depth of the evanescent wave in medium 2 when theta I equals to 80 degree and when theta I equals to 90 degree. So comes with the solution. The critical angle theta c is 80.y10, which we are getting from the TIR equation. Since it is a theta is greater than theta 2 or incident angle, there is a phase shift in the reflected wave. The phase shift is like theta I equals to 87 degree, when there will be phase shift of 143 degree, which is the equation of the. And for our E parallel component, the phase shift changes to minus 36.05 degree. Repeating for theta equals to 90 degree, we are getting phase shift of 180 degree and 0 degree. Note that as long as theta I is greater than theta c, the magnitude of the reflection coefficients are unity. Only the phase changes. And the amplitude of the evanescent wave which penetrates in the lambda 2 equals to 1 by alpha 2, which is delta, where alpha 2 equals to twice pi into lambda n1 n2 whole square sine theta theta I minus 1, which becomes 1.10 10 to the power 6 per meter. So the penetration depth is 0.906 micrometer, and for 90 degree the penetration depth is 0.895 micrometer. So the penetration is greater for smaller incident angle. So we can see that the 30% of the light is reflected and is not available for conversion to electrical energy. This is a considerable amount of reduction in the efficiency of the solar cell. There is an illustration how it happens, where you can see that if an incident light is from air to silicon, there are some reflections, and these reflections causes a 30% losses in the solar cell to convert electrical energy. We can coat the surface of the semiconductor device with a thin layer of dielectric material. For example, we are using silicon nitride that has an intermediate reflective index. Now see what happens. So there are now three types of materials in a in a solar cell, where N1 is the air, N2 is an intermediate coating of silicon nitride which has a dielectric reflective index of 1.9, and finally we have the silicon which has a reflective index of 3.5. Now when light comes first incident on air coating and air and silicon nitride coating, some of the line reflected as in figure A. When wave A has experienced a 180 degree phase shift on reflection because of its external reflection, the wave that enters and travels in the coating then becomes reflected at the coating semiconductor surface. This reflected wave B also suffers a 180 degree phase shift since N3 is greater than N2. When B reaches A, it has suffered a total delay of traveling thickness D of coating twice. The phase difference is equivalent to then when the phase difference would be K twice D, where K is twice pi by lambda C is the propagation constant of the coating. For example, Kc is twice pi by lambda C, where lambda C is the wavelength of that coating. Since lambda c equals to lambda by n2, where lambda is the free space wavelength and phase difference between del phi between A and B is twice pi lambda 2 into twice d, to reduce the reflected light, A and B must be interfere destructively. This requires the phase difference to be pi or odd multiple of pi m pi, where m equals to 135 in an odd number. So finally we are getting this equation. This equation is the optimum equation for an anti-reflecting coating. The thickness of the coating must be odd multiples of the quarter wavelength in the coating, and it depends upon the wavelength. To obtain a good degree of destructive interference between wave A and B, the two amplitudes must be compatible. It turns out that the R minimum, which is the minimum reflectance, becomes n2 square minus n1 n3 divided by n2 square plus n1 n3 whole square, where D becomes m into lambda by 4 n2. To obtain a good destructive interference between wave A and B, the amplitude must be compatible. We need n2 is equals to root over of n1 n3. When n2 is root over n1 n3, then the reflection coefficient between air and coating is equal to between coating and the semiconductor. For a silicon solar cell, root over 3.5 is 1.87. That's why we are taking silicon nitride, which has a very good anti-reflecting coating. Taking the wavelength at 700 nanometer, the thickness should be 92.1 nanometer or all multiples of D. So this way we are using an anti-reflecting coating which will reduce the reflectance of the energy. Let's see here. So if we are using silicon nitride as an intermediate coating or anti-reflecting coating, then it see that we are getting 0.24 percentage, which is a lot lesser than the 30 percentage which has been without the anti-reflecting coating. So the entirely extinguished at, however, it is at 700 nanometer. If the wavelength changes, the reflection coefficient also changes again. Let's see an example where we are seeing that consider an indium gallium arsenide photodetector for use a wavelength of 1310 nanometer in optical communications. The refractive index of the doped indium gallium arsenide that is used as a detector is 3.61. What is the reflectance from its surface without AR coating and reflecting coating? What would be the ideal refractive index for an AR coating of indium gallium arsenide? What should be the thickness that has a refractive index of 1.85? What is then the reflectance? So first part is we have to find out the reflectance without the air coating. So without the air coating, the reflectance comes like 32%, and doing the calculation here. And after that, an ideal air coating would satisfy equation which has been done by n2 root over n1 n3, which is 1.90. Now considering 1.90, for the thickness air at 310 nanometer is 177 nanometer, or its odd multiplications. And finally, the minimum reflectance with using an air coating with 1.90 or 1.85 as is shown in the example, we are getting 0.07 percentage, which is very small comparing to the 32 percentage. So thank you, and this comes to the end of this lecture. If you have any query about this lecture, please note down and show it in the upcoming Zoom live classes. This lecture consists of mathematical problems related to the wave phase of light. So do the maths from the textbook and also from this lecture, and there will be a mathematical problem from this lecture in the final examination. So thank you, stay safe and stay at home.